Hello again, I'm Robert Fitton, and if you've seen some of my recent videos, you might know that I am these days concentrating on downsizing my record collection. There's way too many, it's gotten out of control. I just want to eventually get to a point where I have records that every single one of them, I want to pull out and play. Not just having ones that I've had since the late 80s because I got them in a box of records, so I've just had them and I'm getting rid of those if I don't want them. And so I've talked about that, and I've seen quite a few comments of people saying, why don't you show some of the records that you're getting? What ones are you actually getting rid of? And I've talked about how I've already sold off like Chicago 5 and Journey Frontiers and things like that I don't have any need for. Somebody else might actually want. But I have gotten rid of quite a few others, but I thought, you know what, I don't know, just stop and make a video of some of the ones that I'll be getting rid of. In some cases, selling them in the next record sale. In some cases, just throwing them away because nobody wants these things, and I don't either. Starting off with Kenny Loggins and Celebrate Me Home, one of those albums that I got in a box of records back in the late 80s and have just had all these years. I think this is his debut solo album, so this catches him between the folky kind of acoustic Loggins and Messina stuff, but before he gets into Mr. Cool with the sunglasses and the trim beard and the Mr. Footloose and I'm All Right and, you know, that kind of thing. So this is in between that, and it's terrible. It's god-awful adult contemporary 70s stuff. You can find this anywhere for about $1. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the sell box for $1. Maybe somebody wants this. But I can't see this really going anywhere, and it'll probably just be in that box in the shed and get warped and then throw it away later on. So yeah, Kenny Loggins, Celebrate Me Home. A lot of these records I did give a listen to just to see, because I don't think I've ever actually heard this before. And so I listened to this. It's awful. I don't know any of these songs, I don't think. And it's not for me. And yeah, so that's going to be a no. Journey, Departure, like I said, I got rid of Frontiers, got some decent money for that one. I mean, people actually want that one. People actually want this one. But I checked this out, and, you know, I've heard it a few times, but I gave it another spin, and this has one good song on it, and it's called Any Way You Want It. That's it. That's this album. And, you know, usually I'm all about finding those hidden album tracks, you know, that just the fans know about. And there's some great album tracks that never make it onto the radio or weren't singles or whatever. Not the case with this album. This album has just the single is the only decent song on this entire thing. And I think it only really has one big single on it. Most Journey albums have like 3. This one just has the one. Any Way You Want It starts off the album. There's no long version or album version or edit or whatever. It's all the same version everywhere. So if you have it on a compilation, I'm pretty sure that's really all you need, and I do not need Journey Departure anymore. The Apple soundtrack. If you are a fan of terrible movies, cheesy, campy, weird movies from the 70s and 80s, you might know The Apple, put out by Cannon Films in 1980, so that gives you an idea of the quality there. Fun movie, weird movie, movie that's just bizarre and, you know, it's supposed to have been futuristic. It was from 1980, takes place in 1994. It definitely looks like it's more like 1977. So they're trying to be futuristic. It kind of looks outdated. But the movie is fun to watch if you're in the mood for like a cheap B movie that's just ridiculous. The soundtrack, though, there's no point to this. There's no point in me having this. And this is like a $25, $30 album. It's in great condition. I just don't need this. If I want to know anything about this, I'm going to watch the movie. I'm not going to sit down and listen to the soundtrack. Even though I do love that there's actually a Canon record label. How is that? Canon Records. But yeah, I don't need the Apple soundtrack. Before I go any further, I just want to do a quick shout out to a great YouTube channel, JCM, Led Zeppelin Stories and More. He is all about Led Zeppelin. If you're a fan of Led Zeppelin, you've probably already checked out this channel, so I don't have to tell you about it. But all kinds of great info and insight into the music of Led Zeppelin. He is the self-proclaimed owner of 64 copies of In Through the Outdoor. And I only have like 3, as you know, they have the different angles on the cover, so I think that's really very clever the way they did that on that album. I don't know why more bands didn't do that. I think that's a really cool concept. But anyway, I don't have like multiple copies of different albums from the set, multiple copies of the same album. There's only a couple of bands I do that with. One of them is the Beatles, but I don't feel like I need this anymore. This is the Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab version of Abbey Road, and some people do want this. I don't. I don't like the way this sounds. I think this rolls off too much grit. I have an original UK pressing. I have the one I grew up with. I have a nice, I think, second pressing that's really in excellent condition with the shrink wrap and everything. And so I have enough great Abbey Road copies. I don't need this. This sounds, I don't know. Sometimes it's hit or miss with the Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab stuff. It's just, sometimes it can sound like this, where it sounds like they're trying to turn a 1969 album into a 1978 album, and it's all this polish and all this bass and this kind of smiley face EQing that they do. I'm not into it. I don't like the way this sounds, and I don't need this anymore, so I am definitely getting rid of this. This is the only MoFi that I have of the Beatles. And you want to stay, by the way, here's a fun fact. You want to stay away from Magical Mystery Tour, their version of that. They don't even use the original stereo master tapes. They use the fake stereo ones when, at the time they did that in the 70s, those original stereo, full stereo mixes were available. So, yeah, don't need Abbey Road MoFi. Definitely don't need that. Here's a band that's interesting. A band from Italy called The Trip, and their album is Time of Change. This came out in 1973. This is a reissue that Karma put out. And I recently picked this up for a great price. This was like $5 or $6. And so I thought I'd take a chance. This is in really nice condition. I think this is like a 2000 or 1999 reissue of this. And it looks like it was only played like a couple of times. So I thought I'd take a chance on this. It's called The Trip. It was called psychedelic. That's how it was labeled. It's got the guys flying off as birds. It's got this cool blue here. Nice gatefold going on. They're an Italian, psych rock band. So I'm like, this is going to be awesome. It's not for me. It's definitely not psychedelic. It's more progressive rock. A little bit in the Emerson, Lake and Palmer kind of thing going on. Some really jazzy progressive rock at that with some jazz piano going on, tingling along there. There is one track on side 2. There's only 6 songs on here. There's one track on side 2 that they kind of have some sound effects going on that might make people think it's psychedelic. But this is just not for me. And, years ago, if I would have gotten this, I would have went, I really don't care for this that much, but I got it, so boom, into the collection it goes, and there it will sit. But I am trying to get away from doing that. And so if I give it a listen, I don't care for it. It's not my thing. It's jazzy, progressive rock. It's not psychedelic rock. I don't want this. Maybe somebody else does, so let's pass it on to somebody who can appreciate it. The Trip and Time of Change. It's time for that to change hands. I've had this since the late 80s because this was a regional favorite. Classic rock staple for the St. Louis area. Pavlov's Dog and Pampered Menial with the song Julia. I have never liked that song. I really don't like... The vocalist is what ruins it. These guys sound like they're trying... The vocalist sounds like he's trying to be Geddy Lee. He sounds more like if Geddy Lee was singing on an operating washing machine. Like, yeah, Julia. The band is pretty good. Some of the music is pretty good. It's got some nice rock elements to it. Some nice rock, and that singer ruins it all, though. There's 2 versions of this. The later one is just a full gray thing with the picture a little bigger here. This is the original on ABC. It got redistributed on Columbia. So this is the first pressing. Somebody else can have this, and I know that a lot of people want this, so this is definitely going in the sale. This is not for me, though, and I don't ever want to hear this again. And that's another thing. If I do a deep dive into any of the years, like if I do a 1980 deep dive, I'm not going to put Journey Departure in there because I'm not listening to that again. I'm not listening to this again. I think this is from 75. So if I do a 75 deep dive, do not expect to put Pavlov's Dog on there because I'm not listening to this again just for a deep dive. I'm getting rid of the record, and that's the end of that. Wasp, live in the raw, mint condition, or near mint. I guess I should say nothing's really mint, but this is near mint. Looks like it's never been played. Promo copy. Not a big Wasp fan. I do not like Blackie Lawless at all. I've met him. I've worked with him very briefly, you know, as radio people tend to do, you know, like a one-off thing, one day, you know. Not impressed. Don't need Wasp live in the raw. Somebody does, though. I'm sure somebody would be very excited about getting an extremely nice copy of this. Not for me. I'm going to sell that, and hopefully I'll get enough of that to buy a record that I do want. I don't want that one. I also don't really like 12-inch singles. Now, there are some that I am keeping because I like the single mix or it means something to me, but Helmet and House of Pain, Just Another Victim from the Judgment Night soundtrack is not something I need. Is this black vinyl? Yeah, this is regular black vinyl. Again, looks like it's never been played, and I'm never going to play it, so... Just Another Victim, kid! No. Another one, kind of more hip-hop-ish, Death Row Records. I got this at a sale. It was like $3, and I got it because I thought I'd have this if I ever wanted to talk about Death Row Records. I'd have this big Death Row Records jacket. I'm never going to talk about Death Row Records. I don't know anything about it. This is the This is the Dog Pound with the LP version of Respect. I don't know what Respect is. I'm assuming that's not the Otis Redding, Aretha Franklin one. It's the Dog Pound, apparently without Snoop Dogg. Who needs that? Not me. I also don't need the Vandellas without Martha. You know, I don't need the Sunshine Band without Casey. I mean, come on. And this one too. Korn and special remix versions of Make Me Bad. This one is color vinyl. So I was probably keeping this just because it was color vinyl. I've got enough color vinyl now, so somebody else can have this. I thought, man, that's kind of cool to have a Korn record. There is nothing cool about having a Korn record. So somebody else can have these special remixes of Make Me Bad. I do have Issues, though, the album on CD with the 4 different covers. I do have that, though, so I'm still cool. Here's where that ends. Barry Manilow. Again, these are dollar albums. They're Barry Manilow. I don't think I've ever heard either one of these. I don't need to. Like I said, some of these I listen to just to make sure, like The Journey, Pavlov's Dog, Kenny Loggins, checked them out. No, I'm good. I don't need these. I didn't bother listening to these. It's fucking Barry Manilow. I know who that is. I know what he sounds like. I don't need to hear these. Had these since the late 80s. Again, coming out of a box of records that I got. And, you know, back then I was keeping everything just because you never know. And I was always the guy that if somebody needed a song for like a radio bit or like a, you know, a piece of a promo or something, or I was on this extreme, you know, this rock morning show that was very edgy and would make fun of light rock and whatever. So you never know when you're going to need a Barry Manilow song. So I would have all that stuff. Guess what? All this time has gone by and I've never needed a Barry Manilow song. So bye-bye, Barry. And the thing is, these are dollar albums. I don't think anybody's going to want these. This one isn't even in great condition. It's like a VG. Who wants a VG Barry Manilow album? You can get an excellent copy of this for $1, so I'll probably just throw that away. This one, I really like that red, though. I like the red on the cover here. So if anybody in the comments, please, if you know of an album that has a nice, like the dark red going into the red here, I really like that, but it's a good album. If you know an album like that that has this kind of cover, but it's a good album, let me know what that is. I want to check that out because I'd like to have a cover, an album with this kind of reddish and the dark red going in, like not just a red album cover. This is just a red album cover. Billy Joel's concert in Russia. I'm not talking about just a red album cover. There's plenty of red album covers. There's a thread going around about red album covers. So it can't just be red. I'm talking about this kind of red, like dark red going into red. Like I really like the aesthetic of that. Is there a good album that has that kind of cover? Let me know. And so that's just part 1. Maybe there'll be a part 2. Maybe I'll show some more records that I'm getting rid of. But that's just a taste of what is going either in the trash can or recycle bin. Which wouldn't that be cool if there was a place you could take all those like old show tunes soundtracks and Andy Williams albums and donate and give them to like if there was a vinyl record recycling center and you could get like a coupon for 1% off of the new record or something like that. That would be really cool because there's all kinds of Al Martinos out there and sing along with Mitch and the gang, it would be great candidates for that. But that's not a thing. So, yeah, that's the taste. And so let me know in the comments. I don't know what you... Let me know about that red album cover. Barry Manilow, if there's a nice burgundy kind of red going, dark red going in there. Let me know that. Yeah, if you want any of these, see me in the next Collinsville one. Or maybe the next St. Louis one. Going to take a few sales to get rid of some of those. And I don't think I will probably even after that. But yeah, let me know in the comments, you know, how your day's going, I guess. I'm Robert Fitton. And yeah, part 1 of The Great Purge. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I'll talk to you again next time. It'll be back to 1983.